Unless you create your own definition of success, you will never feel successful.
What would you say to the person that understands this whole thing of I have to take action in order to figure it out, but they're absolutely terrified to take action?
Sometimes you don't give 100% effort to something because you're afraid of what will happen if you do give 100% and still fail. One thing that I've definitely learned in my own experience is that
Welcome to the Jen Gottlieb Show.
Sahil, welcome back.
I'm so happy to be here.
You are the very first guest to have a second show, to have an encore.
Is that true?
You were the first one.
Oh, wow, I am honored. That's great. Well, hopefully I'm glad that I didn't burn my chance with the first time. So it's good we're back.
You crushed it. And everyone listening right now, if you haven't listened to Sahil's first episode, it was actually, we got the best feedback from that episode out of all of the episodes that we've done. So
that makes me so happy.
So everyone go back after you're done with this one and listen to the first one that we did together. Today is a big day because we're celebrating your book. And we are said celebrating. This is a big deal. So whenever my friends write books, it's like they have to be on the pod. We have to talk about it. And I get very excited about it. And I read the books. And this was a little bit of a different experience for me, though, because I love promoting all of my friends' books just because they're my friends and I want to showcase their work. But this book impacted me in such a way. And if you are listening to this right now, I want you to really just take a second. Like if you're doing something else while you're listening to this, just pause and listen to this episode intentionally, because the work that Sahil put into this book, I know for a fact will change your life and your perspective, because it did for me. So Sahil, I lost both my grandparents last month, 10 days apart. And they were the most important people in the world to me. And you wrote in the beginning of your book about the fact that you went and spoke to a lot of older people in their 90s, and you had a lot of conversations with them about the meaning of life. And the conversations that you had with them and the things that they said were very in alignment with my grandparents as well. And these 5 types of wealth were all the things that my grandparents were trying to teach me over their many, many years. And now that they have passed and I had this experience of losing them, all the lessons just seemed to solidify a little bit more. And then when I heard everything in your book again, it was like, holy crap, I'm going to change the way that I live. So I just wanted to say that before we even dive in, that it had such an impact on me. And I'd love to start there. I'd love to start with what you learned from those interviews that you did with people at the end of their life. Because you talk about the 5 types of wealth, right? And when people think wealth, they think, of course, money, and that is part of it. But I think you learned a lot of different stuff while speaking to those people about really what went into this book as far as what the 5 types are.
I'm so sorry about your grandparents. I remember I sent you a text after I saw you share that. And you said something really beautiful back, which is that there was a lot to celebrate. There was a lot of joy and something to really celebrate in the life that they had lived and in the lessons that they had passed on to you. And I reflect on that a lot in my own experience as a friend, as a husband, as a father, that the real generational wealth that we hope to pass down has nothing to do with money. It has a whole lot to do with these kind of lessons. It's these ideas that you feel like your grandparents instilled in you that now allow you to live a more beautiful and full and fulfilling life with your partner, with your friends, with all the people in your life, to live a rich life in that way. And that's what we all hope for. And so that is really beautiful. I appreciate you sharing that. I'm glad. I'm glad that the book solidified some of those things for you.
It did. And so the scorecard thing, I think we can start there. And with also, because you say that we are measuring our success with the wrong scorecard. Mm-hmm. And I would agree. And how did you come to find that out? Mm-hmm. And then and then we can go into what the different types of wealth are and how we're measuring our wealth now, according to your book.
Yeah. I spent the first 30 years of my life chasing everyone else's definition of success. And one thing that I've definitely learned in my own experience is that unless you create your own definition of success, you will never feel successful. If you simply default into what everyone else tells you a successful life looks like, you will never feel successful because you'll just be chasing someone else's more that they've told you matters. They're giving you the thing that they say matters and you're accepting it as your own. It may or may not be aligned with what you truly care about, but you've taken it on and you've walked down this path of accepting common convention. And we all know this. Like in the back of our mind, we know that in order to live a truly fulfilling existence, we have to carve our own way. We have to run our own race. And yet, every single day, we act in line with what society tells us we should care about. I really started to think about the fact that when I was about 30 years old, I had everything that people tell you success looks like. I was making good money. I had a nice car. I had a house. I had all of these things. But on the inside, I was suffering. And I was hiding a lot from the world that I was really struggling with. You know, at the time, I was living 3,000 miles away from my parents, from my sister. Relationships had ground to a halt. I mentally, internally was suffering. I was not present with people that I loved. I was drinking 7 nights a week. My stress levels were very high. I wasn't sleeping enough. All of these areas of my life were really suffering. While on the outside looking in, you would have said I was like winning the game, quote unquote. And I started to have this sensation that if that was what winning the game felt like, I had to be playing the wrong game. And that realization was what sparked this entire journey. Because what I came to understand was that the scoreboard was broken. The way that we measure success in our world is all based around one thing, which is money. And part of the reason for that is because money is so measurable. It's so easy to take a single number and have it apply to your entire self-worth as a human being. You say like, oh, well, I have this much money. That is what I am worth as a person. Peter Drucker, the management theorist, once said, what gets measured gets managed. Mm-hmm. And it's the idea that the thing that we can measure ends up being the thing that we optimize around, the thing that we can focus on and put all of our energy towards. Because money is so measurable, it becomes our narrow, myopic focus. It's the only thing that you think about and focus on when you're building your life. You make all of your decisions. You design your life according to that one narrow thing. Unfortunately, that scoreboard, that narrow scoreboard, is not aligned with the things that contribute to a fulfilling, healthy, wealthy life. Money is a piece of it, but it's not the entire thing. Money isn't nothing. It just isn't the only thing. And so I went on a journey to try to understand what was a better scoreboard. What was a better way to measure our entire life? All of the things that we know contribute to that feeling of a comprehensively fulfilling, wealthy life. And this book is really the manifestation of that journey. It is providing you with a deeper, better scoreboard for measuring your life. Because when you measure the right things, you take the right actions, and you create the right outcomes. And that's what we are all after. Measure the right things. Measure for the broader war that you are fighting. And you will take the right actions along the way, and you will create the better outcomes. You will end up in the place where you want to be going.
How did you make that shift from really only measuring money, feeling very lost, feeling there has to be something more, to now being like, you know what, there's 5 types of wealth? I mean, it seems like it was a very fast shift, and you put the work in really quick, and you took action immediately, and you discovered it. And I think a lot of people have been trying to discover this for a very, very long time and still haven't fully transformed their life. How did that happen for you?
Yeah, I'll say a few things here. We all actually know these things. This is a funny thing for me to say. This is a self-improvement, self-help book. And at the very beginning of the book, I say, this book will not give you the answers for your life because you already have the answers within you. You just haven't asked the right questions yet to reveal them. You know the answers for your life. You know what you truly care about. You just haven't sat with the questions long enough to unveil those answers, to reveal them into your life, to actually go and act on them. I sat with the questions. And this book, if there's one thing it does, is it forces you to sit with those questions, these big questions that will truly reveal the things that you care about in life and will reveal the actions that you need to take to go and build your life around them. The fundamental truth that came to me during this journey was something that my grandfather always used to say, which is, later you'll be dead. And it's a funny and somewhat morbid comment, later you'll be dead. But what you realize and what it meant and what he always said was that life is filled with laters. We say, I'll spend more time with my kids later. I'll spend more time with my spouse or friends later. I'll focus on my health later. I'll find my purpose. I'll build freedom later. All of these laters that exist. And the reality, the harsh reality, is that later just becomes another word for never. Because those things will not exist in the same way later. Your kids won't be 5 years old later. Your friends won't be around later if you're not there for them now. Your health won't be there later. You won't magically wake up and have purpose and freedom later. You either design those things into your life right now, or you're just going to regret it later, because later you'll be dead. And I recognized that on this journey when I made and started to make these shifts, that if I didn't just act dramatically and start investing in all of these areas of my life, that later I was going to be dead and that they wouldn't magically appear in my life. The mindset shift around that is a simple one, which is, with financial wealth, you understand that investing a little bit today compounds into your future. It's an obvious thing. Everyone that's listening to this is an entrepreneur or is building their life in the financial world and understands that, like, putting away $10 here, putting away $100 here is going to compound positively in their future. Every single one of these areas of your life is the exact same. Investing a little bit of time and energy in your relationships today compounds positively into your future. Investing in your health today compounds positively into your future. Investing in your purpose, investing in your growth today compounds into your future. All of these areas exist in the exact same way, but you don't typically relate to them in that way. You don't think about the fact that you can invest a little bit now and build, that anything above zero compounds positively in your life across all of these areas. So it doesn't take moving across the country like what I did. It doesn't take quitting your job with no idea what you're doing next, which is what I did. You don't have to do the crazy thing. All you have to do is the one tiny action that creates a little bit of momentum that creates this ripple effect in your life.
Yes. And I love how in the book you talk about creating a life raiser. I loved that because that was an actionable tool that everybody can use to really simplify it. Can you talk about that?
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah. So the movie Apollo 13 is one of my favorite movies. For those who haven't seen it, phenomenal movie. Tom Hanks, it's this docudrama, Ron Howard docudrama. I think it's 1995. And in that, the sort of climactic scene is the space shuttle is trying to come back into the atmosphere. And they're told that if they come in too steep, they're going to blow up. And if they come in too shallow, they're going to kind of like skip off into space. They have to find the perfect angle. And they have to do it manually because all the computers are shut off on this ship. And that is an incredibly complex series of problems that need to all go right in order to get in at the correct angle. And Tom Hanks has this kind of like fateful moment where he says he's figured out a way that they can do this. And all he has to do is keep the Earth in this tiny little triangular window that's over to his right while he steers the ship. And if he keeps the Earth in that window, it's going to keep them on the right angle to get back home safely. And that idea, keeping the Earth in the window, is this example of having a single point of focus that allows you to cut through the noise in your life, to navigate whatever chaos and uncertainty may come, to keep you focused on the one thing that really matters, keep the Earth in your window. The idea of a life raiser is sort of the version of that in your life. The single point of focus that you can hone in on that allows you to cut through the noise in your own life, that allows you to navigate whatever opportunities or challenges may come. My favorite example of a life raiser came from Mark Randolph, the CEO of Netflix, the first CEO of Netflix, one of the co-founders who I interviewed for the book. And he had this concept of never missing a Tuesday dinner with his wife. He talks about the fact that throughout his entire technology career, founding one of the most transformative technology companies in history, making tons and tons of money doing it, he had a hard rule that every single Tuesday at 5 p.m., he was leaving work to take his wife out on a date. And he says that the thing he is most proud of in his entire career is not that he founded these amazing companies. It's that he did that while maintaining an incredible relationship with his wife and children. And what I recognized in reflecting on our conversation was that it didn't really have to do with the Tuesday dinner or with the date or with any one thing that they talked about on any of these. It had everything to do with the identity that formed in his life, with the fact that it established within him and showed to the world the type of person he was, that he was the type of person who never missed a Tuesday dinner with his wife. That meant something for how he thought about himself and how he interacted with the world around him. So that formed in my mind the idea of this life raiser, that we all need our version of that, of the earth in the window, of the 5 p.m. dinner, that one thing that is identity defining and ripple creating in the world around us. To be able to say, I am the type of person who blank. And that blank implies things about how you interact with the world around you.
I love it. Do you think that sometimes people have a life raiser that's almost the opposite of what they want? Because I think that sometimes we create identities around something that is a negative thing in our life, right? Like I'm not a morning person. And how could we shift that into, I like shift the identity instead of changing just the activity of, okay, I'm going to wake up when my alarm goes off tomorrow. No, I am the person that is a morning person. And that is a life raiser. Do you ever see that happen, or did that happen for you?
Yeah, the stories we tell ourselves are extremely powerful, and they can either serve our future and the future we're trying to move towards, or really hinder it. I think for the first 30 years of my life, I told myself very negative stories about who I was and about what I was and was not capable of. And the unfortunate thing is, for most of us, we have some original stories, if you will, that have been entrenched from childhood or through various traumas in our lives that do not serve our future. We tell ourselves that we're not capable of things. We tell ourselves that that's just the way I am. We tell ourselves we're static. We tell ourselves that we are not smart, or we are not competent. And those thoughts become your reality because it's the narrative fallacy. We seek to confirm data that matches the narrative that we have for ourselves. So if you have a narrative about yourself that you're not a morning person, you will find every piece of evidence that confirms that, and you will ignore things that would refute it. Shifting those stories and allowing yourself to question those stories is a powerful exercise for good in your life. And so allowing yourself to walk through the exercise, and in the book, I walk through a full exercise of how to come up with your life raiser. But some of the people that I spoke to, and we kind of walked through the exercise and identified it, it's beautiful things. I mean, mine is that I will coach my son's sports teams. And if you walk through that, it's the idea that I am the type of person who will coach my son's sports teams. What does that mean to me? Well, it means that I am the type of father and husband that my family wants to have around, that I act in a way that they are proud to have me around. It means that I'm the type of community member that gives back to the people around me. It means that I prioritize family over whatever financial opportunity that comes. It means that I will never do something that will jeopardize my integrity or my character, because that would put in jeopardy the fact that my family wants to have me around. That implies certain things about how I engage with different opportunities or different chaos that comes. I spoke to a woman whose life raiser was that she never lets a friend cry alone. I am the type of person who never lets a friend cry alone. That means a whole lot to her about different ways that she interacts with the world. It means that she shows up for her friends every time they need her. It means that if they call her at 3 a.m., she's there. It also means that she's the type of person that is loyal. It means that she's the type of person that commits to things and does them. She doesn't flake on things. So the single statement that you are making about yourself has these ripples into every interaction and every way that you show up in the world. So what you want to do is create your version of that statement. I am the type of person who, fill in the blank, and make sure that that is the way that your ideal self shows up in the world. What is that? And then put it up in front of you. Put it up in front of you so that you see it every single day, so that when the chaos comes and you want to revert to those old stories you told yourself, you look at it and you say, no, I'm the type of person who never lets a friend cry alone. I'm the type of person who tucks my kids into bed every single night. I'm the type of person who coaches my kids' sports teams. I'm the type of person who never misses a Tuesday dinner. That's who I am, not this story that I'm telling myself. I'm going to repeat it to myself and see it every single day in how I act.
Unbelievably simple. Like goosebumps everywhere. This is so simple because this can subconsciously or very simply, it's just one little thought that can shift our decisions to direct us towards that North Star without us having to make massive decisions, take huge leaps and bounds. It's like just remembering I am this person. I'm the person that coaches my kids' sports games. I'm the person that never lets my friend cry alone. I love that. And that just guides your decisions. Boom. Simple. Okay. I want to shift gears because we have to talk about the section about health. Because if you follow Sahil on Instagram, you will see that you do lots of cold plunging, lots of running, lots of lifting. We are two peas in a pod for that. And so was this always you with your health journey? Or did this start when you had this transition and you moved to the East Coast from the West Coast and you had this aha where you had to start investing in all of these different areas of life? Or was this always something that you were very passionate about?
I have always been very passionate about discipline and the pursuit of external health. Internal health was an entirely new thing for me when I started on this journey. But externally, I played Division I baseball. So my entire journey to that and getting a scholarship was driven by the fact that I was very disciplined about my lifting and training methodologies around sports. The one thing I will say is I got to a point in 2021 where I found myself drinking 7 nights a week and multiple drinks. I didn't have a problem per se. I don't think I was an alcoholic by any means, but a whiskey here, a whiskey there had turned into I was drinking 7 nights a week, whether for work or just I need to unwind at the end of the day. It became this story that I told myself. And I got to a point where I realized, I am all about health. I'm working out, I'm trying to generally watch what I eat, and then I'm drinking 7 nights. This does not line up. I'm harming my sleep. I'm not taking care of my recovery. I'm doing all these other things. And so I needed to have a real reckoning around the way that I was treating myself more holistically than just on the outside with the training stuff. My reasoning around physical wealth, which is that section of the book, is really captured in that big question of that section, which is a visualization exercise about your 80th birthday, which is the question, will you be dancing at your 80th birthday party? And I ask people to close their eyes and imagine they're at their 80th birthday. Your friends, your family are all walking in to celebrate you. And dinner ends and your favorite song comes on. The song that you think about when you think about your childhood and you think about your best memories, that song comes on.
What's that for you?
Semi-Charmed Life, probably, by Third Eye Blind. I don't know why. That's just been throughout my high school. I think of that song. I have this funny memory of you're in a car, you're 16 years old. It's late at night. Windows are down, you're driving down an open road and a song comes on the radio and you just are screaming it with your friends and it's the happiest, most free moment. And for some reason that is the song that's just on my mind. But yeah, your favorite song comes on and your friends and family go out to the dance floor and they're calling you over. Are you able to go out and dance with them at your 80th birthday? And if you're not, how can you change your actions in the present so that you can? So that on your 80th birthday, you can go out and dance your heart out with the people that you love. That is all about taking control over your actions in the present to create the future that you want, which is everything that we're talking about, every area of our life. It is about asserting the control, the power that you have to take an action and create a desired outcome over a long time horizon, investing in the things that will compound into the future. Your physical wealth is an area where that could not be more direct and where that could not have more ripple effects into every other area of your life. Because the second you start investing in your physical wealth, the second you start working out, you start eating better, you realize that you are a winner and you realize that you are capable of so much more than you have ever understood. I think of physical pursuits as being a catalyst for every other area of life. I've said this before. there is no such thing as a loser who wakes up at 5 a.m. and works out. The single first piece of advice that I give to anyone that is feeling lost in life is for 30 days, wake up at 5 a.m. and work out, because you will convince yourself that you are a winner. Because it is hard. It takes a ton of discipline. It's very challenging. And by the end of 30 days, you will have rewired your brain to recognize that you are capable of anything. And that has ripple effects into every area of your life. It will make you interact better in your relationships. It'll make you pursue your work better. All of your other areas of your life will improve on the back of this one thing, that you were able to do a hard thing and create a desired outcome. And so when I think of physical wealth, that's what I really think about. It's taking the actions, the controllables in your life, and taking control over them.
Delayed gratification. I think there's a lot of that. I mean, right now we want immediate. We want to call our Uber. We want to have our Uber Eats delivered to us. We want our coffee delivered in a second. We want to get the dopamine hit from the social media post that we put up immediately. We want answers on our emails immediately. It is like gratification central. Like, I want it now.
You're listening to The Jen Gottlieb Show.
I believe, and I think that you do too from reading your book, that all the good things come to those who put in the hard work and are patient enough to wait for it. And what experiences have you had, or did you have while writing this book and going on this journey, that really made you, I guess, more empowered to wait for that delayed gratification? Because I feel like you definitely do that in your life.
Yeah, fundamentally, every single thing you want in life is on the other side of something that you don't want to do.
Amen.
I mean, time and time again, you see that. The body you want is on the other side of the workouts you don't want to do. The business you want is on the other side of the hard work that you don't want to do. The relationships you want are on the other side of the hard conversations you don't want to have. And when you engage in those activities, when you do the thing that you don't want to do, you find that the greatest things in life are on the other side of that. The most meaningful things in life are inherently hard. And that's precisely what makes them so meaningful, is that they are hard to get. If they were easy, you wouldn't want them quite as much. I have found that over and over and over again. And the truth is that it's all found through action. And so we've talked about that'll be the common theme across all of this. It's all found through action. The answers you seek are found in the actions you avoid. The answers you seek are found in the actions you avoid. Rumi, one of my favorite ancient poets, says, as you start to walk on the way appears. Mm-hmm. You cannot find the answers for your life standing still where you are. You have to start walking. You have to take action, and the answers will reveal themselves. We all want to plan the perfect life. We sit where we are and we're like, I'm going to create the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, the 20-year plan for my life. You can't do that. You have to start walking, and the answers reveal themselves. The most beautiful opportunities in life are inherently impossible to see. They are invisible. You reveal them through action. People ask me all the time now, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? The honest answer is I have absolutely no idea, and that's exactly what I like about it. 5 years ago, if you had asked me where I was going to be in 5 years, I would have written down 100 scenarios for my life, and not a single one of them would have been sitting here having this conversation with you about having written a book. Not a single one of them, because I had no idea that this path existed. I had to start walking on the way, and the way revealed itself, the way appeared. So all of this stuff in life comes down to taking action in the present. Within the physical wealth realm, the thing that makes it so challenging for people to understand is that because of what you said, because we live in a social media age, we are bombarded by information on the complex solutions. You are convinced by social media that the only way for you to get healthy and fit is to do some insane health protocol. I mean, frankly, me posting cold plunge videos, right? Like, you don't need to cold plunge. You don't need to sauna. You don't need to red light, whatever Brian Johnson's doing these days. You don't need to do those things. You don't need the complex, sexy regimen. The boring basics work. And 80% of the benefit is found in doing the simplest boring basics across movement, nutrition, and recovery. If all you do is level 1, which is move for 30 minutes a day, don't care whether it's jogging, biking, walking, rowing, dancing, whatever you like doing, move for 30 minutes a day. Nutrition, Eat whole unprocessed foods at 80% of your meals. That's 17 out of 21 meals during the week. Eat whole unprocessed foods. And then recovery, just sleep for 7 hours a night. If you do those 3 things, you'll be ahead of 90% of people out there in the world. That's not going to sell an ebook. I can't sell you some fancy course about my fitness regimen and tell you like, hey, move for 30 minutes. You're not going to buy that. So it doesn't get the clicks. So you're not bombarded by that, but it just works.
What would you say to the person that understands this whole thing of I have to take action in order to figure it out, but they're absolutely terrified to take action? Like they are stuck and they can't take that first step because they're too afraid of failing.
Oof. I've thought about this so much recently that sometimes you don't give 100% effort to something because you're afraid of what will happen if you do give 100% and still fail. You're afraid of the hit that your ego is going to take if you truly put yourself out there and it doesn't work out. And oftentimes, even more than anything else, you aren't afraid of failure. You're afraid of what other people will think of you if you fail. And the truth is that no one is thinking about you. And it sounds mean, but it's just true. Nobody cares. Everyone is just walking around worried about themselves. Go on a Zoom meeting. There's statistics around this now. 90% of the time, people are just looking at themselves on a Zoom meeting. So the whole time you're worried about the zit on your face or how you look, no one's looking at you. Everyone's just staring at themselves on the Zoom. And that is true for life. That is a microcosm of the real world, which is you walk around thinking everyone is going to notice. Like, oh, I put up that post and not that many people liked it. Everyone's going to know that I suck or that I'm not good at this. No, everyone is just looking at themselves. No one looked at your post. By definition, if no one saw it, and you moved on and you walked on to the next day, everything. Right? Like all of these things that we hype up in our minds that hold us back from putting ourselves out there are completely fabricated. I've said this before. There are 2 big mistakes in life. One is worrying about what other people think about you. And the second is believing that other people think about you in the first place. No one is thinking about you. The spotlight effect says that we overestimate the degree to which other people are noticing or observing our actions or behaviors. It's true. It's a behavioral phenomenon found in science, grounded in science. You don't need to worry what other people are thinking about you because they aren't thinking about you.
I'm like having a standing ovation in my mind right now. I just wrote a post about this 2 days ago. It was like, nobody's thinking about
I've
you.
seen you talk about this on social and I'm like, every single time I'm like smashing like. I'm just like, please understand this. Because, and by the way, these are all things that I would consider like also notes to self because I catch myself in these trains of thought all the time. It's not like we have defeated this and now I'm like, oh, I never fear anything, right? Like, I'm launching this book. I had, for several months, held myself back from wanting to put myself out there with it. And I wasn't giving 100% effort. I wanted, in the back of my mind, I wanted to have an out so that if it wasn't successful, if I didn't achieve what my high aspirations and dreams are for it, that I could say, well, I didn't really promote it as much as I could have. So yeah, of course it wasn't that successful because I didn't really put myself out there. I was creating this self-handicap. I was self-sabotaging because I was afraid of putting myself out there and still having it fail. And coming into 2025, I looked myself in the mirror around that and I decided that my phrase for the year was going to be all in. I am just going to go all in on everything that I do. All in for myself, all in for my growth, all in for my people that I care about, all in on my purpose, on creating these ripples in the world, all in on the things that really matter to me, and all in on saying no to the things that don't. But I was going to go all in.
I'm obsessed. And that also makes me feel very nervous for you going all in, because that means when I think about going all in, I'm like, well, you can't go all in on all the things. So that brings me to a question that I ask myself a lot, and I know a lot of the listeners are always asking me on Instagram Lives and in the DMs about deciding what to say yes to and what to say no to. Because if you're going to go all in on everything, it means that, and let's talk about the time section in your book, time wealth. We don't have time to go in all in on all of it. So how do you decide where you're going all in and where you're going oh, I'm completely out. I'm not doing this.
Yeah, all in to me means all in on the things that matter and all in on saying no to the things that don't, which is really important, as you say. In the book, there's a few sort of simple tests that I use for when to say yes and when to say no to things. And on the personal side, the one that I love is asking yourself if you would do that thing right now. Would I do this tonight? So when I get invited to an event or when I get invited to something, would I say yes to this if it was tonight? And generally speaking, what we do is you get invited to something 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now, and you say like, you look at your calendar and you're like, oh yeah, I'll have more time for that later. So I'm going to say yes to it. So you say yes, and then the thing comes and you say, damn, well, I don't want to go to this thing, but you said yes to it. Now you have to. It's called the yes damn effect. It's actually
wait, really? It has a name. Yes damn effect.
Yes damn. Yes comma
this
damn.
This happens to me all the time, and now I can give it a phrase.
Yeah, now you can give it a phrase, and it's a scientific finding that people don't understand future time very well, and so you think you're going to have more time for things, and you don't. You inevitably will have filled your calendar in the same way that it's filled now, and so we say yes to a lot of things in the future when, if they were today, we wouldn't have said yes to them. So ask yourself that question when you're taking on personal commitments. Would I say yes to this right now? If the answer is yes, say yes to it. If the answer is no, say no to it. Very simple, clear test. With professional opportunities, I've seen various versions of this, but Derek Sivers has the kind of hell yes or no framework, which is the idea of saying like, is this a hell yes opportunity? I like that as kind of a first line of defense with professional opportunities. The second line for me is, what I notice about myself and what I think about many entrepreneurs is we are overly optimistic and positively oriented when it comes to new opportunities. Shiny object syndrome. You see the new business opportunity and you're like, ooh, that looks really amazing. I'm going to definitely dive all in on that. So you take on way too many things because you get starry-eyed about the new thing. What I do to fight that is I ask myself, if I assume that this opportunity is going to be half as profitable and take twice as long as I currently think, would I still do it? So if it's going to be significantly less profitable and take way longer than I'm currently imagining, would I still want to take it on? And if the answer is still yes, then it's generally a thing that I'm going to take on. It basically is a way to fight your natural bias towards optimism. Just like pull yourself back a little bit from the edge and say like, okay, let me view this from a more balanced perspective. And I find with taking those sort of two tests or those two razors into account, you end up significantly cutting back on the things that you say yes to, which is key because then you can focus your energy on the couple of things that actually really matter, that are actually really moving the needle in your life.
It's so good. How do you say no? How do you say no? Like, let's say you do the thing where a friend asks you to go do something in 2 weeks and you look at the calendar and you're like, okay, if this was tonight, would I say yes or no? And you're like, no, I would not do this tonight. Mm-hmm. I have a problem saying no to my friends about social activities. I have to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I have something, or like, I can't do it because. Are you the type of person that's just like, nope, I can't, and that's it? Or do you make up excuses too?
I've become more of the type of person that can confidently say no. You and I are wired the same in that you self-identify as a nice person. I do too. And so I feel like a jerk if I just say no to things. And the question that really helped me with this was, what am I saying no to by saying yes to this? Asking yourself that, because every time you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. Usually, for a person who self-identifies as nice, you are saying no to yourself, your mental health, your peace of mind, by saying yes to this new thing. So you are treating yourself poorly by treating this other person well. Your real friends want you to be kind to yourself. They don't want you to be nice to them. The sort of fake friends out there want you to be nice. Fake friends will love you when you say yes to everything, when you create no boundaries, when you're easy, when you let things slide. Real friends like you when you create boundaries, when you are kind to yourself, when you actually have hard conversations, when you engage in them, when you don't sweep things under the rug. And so what you're trying to do is recognize that the real ones will appreciate you for just being honest and saying, no, I can't take that on right now. I have just found that being very direct about like being in a focus mode or having hard lines around the times that I do things has completely changed my life. I don't do, but you and I are having dinner after this, and it's a 7:00 dinner. That is the latest dinner that I've done in forever. I do 5:30 dinners. I have a standing reservation at my favorite restaurant in New York City at 5:30 every Tuesday. And I have a one-on-one dinner with someone that I want to spend meaningful, close time with. We get done with dinner at 7:00, so I can go home and go to bed at a great time. That is a boundary that I've created in my life. I don't do group dinners. I don't like going to group dinners because I don't feel like you can have meaningful conversation with people. I've created a rule that I stick to. And if there's an exceptional opportunity or something where I really am excited about it, I can break the rule. But generally speaking, I create a rule and I try to stick to it. I think that anyone can benefit from doing that. Create a few rules about the things that you do and don't do. And if you need an excuse, make the excuse something that you're excited about or working on, or a family thing. Like the book has been a great excuse for me. Like I'm really in focus mode on the book right now, so I can't do whatever this social engagement is. I can't do whatever this, family friend gathering is, or whatever the thing is. The other piece for you and for anyone else out there that is in the kind of public sphere that like does social media or content or things is a lot of your work requires you to be switched on. Like I have to be on for a lot of the things that I do for work, whether it's, in real life events or speaking or podcasts or whatever it is, you're switched on. Mm-hmm. And when I'm not switched on, I really want to be switched off. I don't want to go to a thing where I have to be switched on. I don't want to go to a group dinner where I have to be switched on for all these new people. I love going to a one-on-one dinner with someone that I care about and love where I can just be off but still be with them. And so that is hard to get across to people who aren't in that same world as you. Mm-hmm. You understand that. I can talk to you about that. I can be open about that. But to explain that to my mom, she does not understand that. She's like, oh, why are you so, down at Thanksgiving? I'm like, I'm not down. I'm just not, I'm not podcast Sahil sitting here, having dinner because I want to be off. This is my off time. I want to just be relaxed. Leave me alone. Don't ask me all these questions, Mom. And so that is, that's kind of like a weird thing that is a little tricky for people that are kind of outside your line of work to understand too.
Yeah, but I'm really glad you shared that because I know there's a lot of people nodding their head and snapping their fingers right now that are listening to this. I'll tell you, my listeners know this. For my birthday, the only gift that I wanted was to go to a hotel by myself for 5 days. And that's what I did because I didn't want to wear any makeup. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I wanted to journal, eat healthy, and work out. And that was it.
I'm glad you did that for yourself.
It was awesome. It was so just energy producing. I think for people, anyone that's listening, that's also, I would consider it being more of an introvert like that. My definition of introvert is different than many people. I think there's so many different definitions, but that my energy is fueled and charged when I'm alone, and it's expended when I'm on. Mm-hmm. So I need to be alone to charge it up, and I'm guessing that's very similar to you.
Yeah, it's like an introverted extrovert, I guess, is kind of how I think of myself. Yeah.
Get outside of your comfort zone and into your best life, one small step at a time.
So let's move into the relationship portion of the book because I feel like we're veering in that direction because now we're talking about people and boundaries and why did you make that one of the, I think it's kind of obvious, but I want to hear why you made it one of the types of wealth.
Social wealth, which is the second type of wealth in the book, is fundamentally what allows you to experience or enjoy any of the other types of wealth. I say this in the book, what good is having all these fancy things if you don't have someone to enjoy them with? No one imagines having a yacht and being alone on it, right? No one envisions being all healthy and being able to go for a hike, but not having a friend to do it with, or a loved one to experience these things with, or the free time, but you don't have anyone to enjoy that free time with, being alone on some experience.
Or someone to text about it.
Yeah.
Even if you're alone, when I was alone in that 5 days for my birthday, I was talking to all my friends the whole time, just sharing with them what I was doing. And it would not have been as soul giving if I didn't have people to share it with. Yeah.
I love that phrase, soul giving. Fundamentally, social wealth is what allows and provides the texture in your life. And there is very clear scientific evidence that the strength of your relationships is the most important factor in living a healthy, happy life. The Harvard study of adult development studied the lives of 2,000 plus people over 85 plus years. They found that the single greatest predictor of physical health at age 80, physical health, was relationship satisfaction at age 50. Not cholesterol, blood pressure, your smoking and drinking habits, but how you felt about your relationships determined your health outcomes. We know that there is scientific evidence that the people you surround yourself with determine your outcomes in life. We rise to the level of expectations that the people around us have. The Pygmalion effect is what it's called. And so if you surround yourself with people who believe you are capable of more, who tell you to think bigger, who encourage you, you will rise to the level of those expectations. So again, we know that these things are so impactful for our life. The people we surround ourselves with, most important decision you will make in your life. And yet, we don't take actions in the present to invest in that in the way that we think about investing in financial wealth. We don't take the second to text a friend. We don't take the 30-minute break to get coffee with the family member. We don't make sure that we get the group of old friends together for the annual trip. We allow these things to slip and atrophy, and we suffer for it later. We pay for that on the back end. And sometimes what I think it comes down to is being willing to send the double text. And I think of this as such a funny little microcosm in life. So many of us fear being the person to text twice. Mm-hmm. We're like, I'm not going to be the one because they haven't reached out to me. So I'm not, I don't want to be the desperate one, or I don't want to reach out. And sometimes in life, you just have to send the double text because you don't know why the other person hasn't. We fill the why with the worst reason, which is like, they don't care about me, they're selfish, all these things. But if it's someone that you care about, send the double text. Be the spark, be the catalyst for sparking that interaction, because that tiny interaction can create a ripple in your life, a positive compounding that will pay dividends quite meaningfully for the rest of your life.
1,000% send the double text. And many people will, I know this, see a text and just be like, oh yeah, I'll get back to that later. And then it gets drowned by all the other text messages and they don't see it. And that's why they didn't answer. And then thank God you followed up, because they might even be thinking, why hasn't my friend reached out to me? And they didn't even see it. So I love that double text thing. I'm going to actually I don't even know. I'm going to put that on my desk.
I mean, think about how many times,
text.
I think about how many times in my own life, some amazing relationship has been sparked by me being willing to be the annoying one that sent 2 or 3 texts.
Yeah.
And I don't care. If the other person is that's weird that he double text, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. If I like the person genuinely and I want to spend time with them, I couldn't care less if they think it's weird that I texted 2 or 3 times. Because frankly, if they're the type of person that thinks that that's weird that I did that, we probably weren't going to be friends anyway. Because I'm a big believer in I believe that I will receive back in return the energy that I put out into the world. I am a huge believer. One of my favorite quotes is, stop wasting time chasing butterflies, mend your garden, and the butterflies will come. Which to me means I want to have internally the world that I want to experience externally. And for me, what that means is that I want to be a giving, loving person. And if I put that energy out into the world, if I can have that energy and I can put it out into the world, I believe I will receive that in return. And that is how I want to live. And so if people that I engage with don't appreciate that or don't respect that, then we probably weren't going to be friends, and that's fine if they're not down with that. I'm okay with it.
I love it. Yes. So let's talk about the type of people that we want to not be friends with anymore. When we get to a point, I know that this is a thing that happens every so often when we grow, especially someone that's listening to a podcast like this. You're on a journey of growth. You're reading Sahil's book and you're like, oh my gosh, your life is expanding. You're investing in all these different areas of wealth. And the people that you were friends with before are like, that's stupid. That's crazy. Why are you changing? Or they get kind of activated by you growing and changing because maybe they see something that they can't do themselves and they get jealous and they try to bring you back down. We can all probably think of one of those people in our lives. What do we do with that, especially if it's someone that we've put a lot of time and energy and sunk cost fallacy into, that kind of a thing? How do we shift out of that relationship?
Taylor Swift said, the worst people in the world are the ones who make you feel bad for being excited about something. I think about that quote all the time.
That's great.
I absolutely love it because we all know someone like that in our life, unfortunately, where we have gotten excited about something, some growth journey we're on, some personal transformation we're going after, and the person has made you feel bad for that. They've laughed at it. They've belittled it. They've put you down for it. They've made the little snickering comment. I cannot count the number of times someone has made the like slightly derogatory comment of like, oh, like introducing me to someone. Oh yeah, he's like an influence. Oh yeah, he does influencing. He like does his little Twitter post, or he does his little newsletter. Like make the little comment that there's like an underlying edge to it. And we need to stop tolerating those kind of things so much in our lives. You give people a second chance, but never a third. I often think about this idea that seasons of loneliness, long periods of loneliness, are a tax on personal transformation. They are the cost of entry for your personal transformation, because when you are growing and changing, when you are on a transformation journey, when you are engaging and living life a different way, when you are measuring your success a different way, you are going to change, and the environment that you previously existed in has stayed the same. That means that you are literally going to be speaking a different language than the people that you previously interacted with. And many of them will not want to join you on that journey. You are going to be saying things that they just don't understand, and you are no longer going to have the things in common that bonded you. That is okay, and it's okay to embrace that season of loneliness. Because while you are changing, you have yet to attract the new people on the other side of that journey, the people that are going to be attracted to the new version, to the transformed version of what you are doing. Embracing that season of loneliness as a cost of entry to that transformation, as a tax on that journey and all of the benefit you are going to get, has been a helpful mindset shift for me as I've experienced that in my own life.
So true. And it's like being in it and like leaning into the temporary discomfort for the gain that you're going to get on the other side. And that's why all of these types of wealth work together, because the physical aspect and learning how to work out, and it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be, painful to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and put in the reps, but you're going to get the results of your health. Same thing with relationships. Like, you're going to be a little bit lonely and you're going to have to phase out of those relationships, but the greatest ones are on the other side that align with where you're going and not where you were. So I love that. Okay. As we wrap up here, by the way, like, I could talk to Sahil for 2 hours.
I feel the same way.
All day, all night, and we could go on and on, but I want you to read the book. I want you to buy the book and read it because it is so good. I want to wrap up with, what was the most powerful thing that you learned when you were interviewing people that were close to the end of their life? I don't think there's anything more powerful than that. I got to do that with my grandma. I had her on the podcast, I think a few months before she died. Yeah. And I wish I did it earlier. But I kept putting it off, and I went and I did it. And she was good, but she even said on the podcast, she's like, I would have been better if this was earlier when you said we were going to do it. And I was like, all right. I'll tell you what she said to me, and then I want to hear what you learned. She said, you guys can listen to the podcast. She said a bunch of stuff, but one thing that she would always repeat to me over and over and over again, she was married to my grandpa for 60 years. She died 10 days after he did. They had the most beautiful marriage I've ever seen. And she said, the most important decision that you make in your life has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with where you live. It has nothing to do with the career that you choose. It's the person that you choose to spend your life with. And she would just repeat that to me over and over and over again. And I'd love to hear some of the other lessons that you heard from people when they've reached their 90s and they've lived all of this life. Yeah.
I think one of the most beautiful pieces of wisdom was from my grandmother, who passed away last October, 95 years old. She said, never fear sadness, as it tends to sit right next to love. And there's such a powerful message underlying that, which is some of the most beautiful things in life dance on this razor's edge with some of the most painful things in life. And reminding yourself of that along the journey, that by opening yourself up to the thing that you really want, that deep love, that deep connection, you are inherently opening yourself up to the other, to the bad, to the negative, to the sadness, to the pain of loss of the person that you love. But you can't experience the good without the bad. That's the nature of life. And I thought that piece of advice so beautifully framed up this entire thing, this entire journey. never fear sadness as it tends to sit right next to love.
Oh my gosh, we have to end on that mic drop. There were so many though. I can't even, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. We're going to have Sahil on for a third time. I think you're going to be the one that is the most recurring on this show. But
maybe we're just going to launch a podcast together.
Maybe we should. Yeah. Oh, what did we say it was going to be called? Like protein and podcasting or something like that. Because we're going to go eat a bunch of meat after
We'll do it
this.
in a cold plunge. We'll just sit in a cold plunge and do it.
I love it. Okay, so you got to get the book. When you're listening to this, it has not released yet.
It's out-ish.
It's out-ish.
You can get it delivered this weekend at this point.
Exactly. Get on Amazon. I don't care if it's, just go order it because you can pre-order it, so it doesn't matter. Go on Amazon. Don't just buy one. That is my rule with books. I never buy one. Please buy two, one for you and one for somebody that you love, so you can read it together and you can talk about it. You can have your own little book club because like what we said, nothing matters if you can't share it with somebody.
Amen.
So this can be an incredible gift that you can give to somebody that you love today. Go buy the book, share the episode, all the things. Please follow Sahil. He is obviously, I don't even have to tell you this, unbelievable, dear friend. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. Thank you for writing this book. I have no more words. I'll see you next time on the Jen Gottlieb Show. Thanks so much.